Mate, I'm not even a pro, and I've broke a bunch of mouses in the past. How about you, Dust? Any victims out there?
Headsets, keyboards, they've all had it at some point.
Classic. Yeah. Well, here we go. Second best of 3 getting underway. Syman and Gambit youngsters going to be battling it out on Overpass. The analysts didn't seem to give Syman really any hope on this map, but they have got the first pick at the very least and put Gambit youngsters on the back foot as they look to make a move over on the B side instead.
Yeah, I can't blame them. Just a couple of days ago, or yesterday rather, Gambit youngsters absolutely swacked Syman on this map, 16-7. Also, in general, Gambit youngsters have a 6-0 head-to-head record against Syman. Double digits, so it's been very one-sided in this head-to-head, but Syman doing some good things, at least in this pistol round on this retake right now. They are sweeping through in a big way.
Some real crispy headshots. Kiosk has already put 2 down range. Norbert, meanwhile, comes out with one of his own, and they're going to be sticking on the defusal. There's not really anything that Supra can do about this. He tries and flirts with the idea, but Mo puts the bullet down. And Syman do pick up the first round. And I suppose Norbert, again, is somebody that we have to talk about. He had a very up and down performance yesterday. First map on Inferno, he was absolutely lights out, and then he just kind of dropped off the cliff. So if he can perform, maybe there's a chance.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the star of this team. I mean, I think him and Mo are kind of the two that you're relying on to be the heavy lifting of the team. It is worth noting that even with some of his struggles yesterday, he still wound up being one of the better rated players in the tournament so far. And he's top 5 in damage per round and kills per round so far for the tournament. So definitely Norbert overall, despite some mishaps here and there, has been pretty strong as you'd expect. Hopefully you can keep that up. You see some aggression here from the CTs over towards the playground area. Getting right up on this choke point with the MP9s and absolutely mowing down Gambit youngsters, who obviously got the first round bomb plant and then took essentially a full save here. So no surprise really to see that Syman are just kind of coasting towards the 2-0 score line. But next round will be a bit more interesting. That's when things will spike up a bit.
I certainly hope so for Gambit youngsters. If they go in for a full bar, which is going to be a very, very strong one at that, and they end up losing this one comfortably, then Syman off to a phenomenal lead. It's going to be AKs. They could afford the AWP if Super wants to take it. Decides against that, wants to run the more mobile full AK setup.
Yeah, and you got to keep your eyes on Shiro and Axile. I think that's something that Hawka highlighted. Both these players are top-rated players in the tournament. Axile is like #1 or top 5 in most categories when it comes to damage per round, kills per round, rating, you name it. Axile has been absolutely lighting it up this tournament. And then Shiro actually is top 5 in success in opening duels and opening kills per round. So he's been doing a really great job so far this event, getting those opening picks with the AWP or with the rifle and setting up his team for success. So that combination of Axile and Shiro have really been driving this team forward, and that has been the case for the last several months. They've been very successful, by the way, this Gambit youngsters team. They are ranked #1 in Mountain Dew League right now. They have had some really cool wins over some bigger name teams, or at least bigger name compared to them, in various small online cups. So they've actually been one of the CIS teams that have been kind of on the rise. So I'm expecting big things from them in this series, as they had already shown us against Syman yesterday with the 2-0. So we are looking at them setting up for what seems to be a B play. Everyone seems to be gathering up in this area.
Certainly the case. 45 seconds left. They have the one player in connector that can make the wraparound play come into fruition. Cade locking it down on water. The timing's not going to work out, but how does Super not get a kill from that? He absolutely had them dead to rights, but instead it is going to be a 2-for-1 trade. Lots of damage has been inflicted across to the youngsters, but they are going to be standing tall for a little bit longer. Bomb's been dropped, gets denied on the plant, and Gambit youngsters, after waiting and biding their time for a buy, it has not worked whatsoever. They still have Axile, they still have Nafani to maybe try and pull this one back, but the bomb now has a Molotov on top of it, and they're going to be looking to try and hold on to these AKs and maybe do a little bit of damage. The round is done.
Yeah, Syman winning the opening gun round here, now #3. 2 AKs have been saved by Axile and Nafani, but Syman are off to a really good start here so far. Everyone seems to be pitching in as well when it comes to frag distribution. It's still very early days, obviously, but at least we're seeing everyone starting off with something, not going like, oh, and anything like that. Meanwhile, on Gambit Youngsters, we haven't really seen Exile, get up to snuff just yet. Same with Shiro. Neither one of them have a frag yet in the first 3 rounds played. Again, they haven't only had that one bye, though, to be fair, so there's still a lot of time left, and definitely a map that Gambit Youngsters are usually very comfortable on. This is probably one of their best maps next to Vertigo as far as like online record goes. So I imagine that even though they've had a cold start here, they will still, feel pretty good and be able to recover. They did have a pretty big T-side yesterday of 9 rounds to close out that game against Syman. 16-13 was the score on that overpass game. Excuse me, 16-7 was the score on that. My apologies. 10 rounds on the T side.
Molly into a smoke straight away on the T ramp side, stopping any aggression early through playground or middle. It does allow Syman a lot of the maneuverability when it comes to connector control if they want to put 2 more players in there. Right now, Norbert is holding it down. Different angle, bit of an off angle that Super may fall into, but the entry looking good. Looking a little bit more sketchy for Syman on their B defense. It's only going to be Kioz alone. He landed some very nice crispy headshots in the pistol round, but that spray not going to work out for him. And now Super doesn't have to worry about that off angle, but just gets straight up peeked by Norbert, whose aim is looking like it's on for the time being. Grenade destined towards B, doesn't really do any damage, and it is another post plant. They have 2 AKs and an AWP. And a situation for Syman to really mull this over. If they get a kill soon, I'd imagine they're going to go for the clutch. They're going to go for the retake. If not, they may hang fire and pull back. Good grenades used, but that wallbang from Mo through the wooden panels into the head of Inters. Not going to make them fully go for this. It does at least make this round sting a little bit more for Gambit Youngsters, though, but they will get there first.
And again, that's just Axile showing you his abilities there. Big entries onto that B-bomb site. He is number 2 in success in opening duels in this tournament behind the number 1 player, his teammate Shiro. So when you have an opening force like that, you're going to have a good time, and Axile definitely really big there. Again, top-rated player in the tournament. Top in damage and kill stats as well. So he is having a ball so far here in the WePlay Clutch Island, and that was big on him to get those entries on B to get Gambit their first rounds. As you said, though, there was some economic damage done to Gambit. They've had to do some rebuying, forces a couple of Galils in play just to be able to get utility, which does give Syman that chance to kind of swing right back and force the reset on Gambit, which could be really severely damaging to them. So we'll see how it plays out.
Nade tossed up into connector. Thought that would do more to Nealon, especially with some of the nade changes recently, but just 17 HP, not quite mangled. He's going to be all right to stay in there, but he is alone. So if they lose mid-control and Gambit Youngsters decide to pincer into connector, Nealon, the best-case scenario is maybe a kill. They're going to be pushing out of B as a result of that to try and take control elsewhere, and it has been successful. Axile has to give this up.
At least he gets the information that they're there, though, and they also know that Nealon's being aggressive inside the connector, so they know what they're up against, and they have several players over towards the A side of the map that can start taking space in that direction. Or they can kind of sit back and wait and then make the late play for short B control. That's one of the interesting things about Axile. Even though he's really good in opening duels, he's usually the playmaker on the edge of the map. He's not normally like in the main entry pack or anything like that, but definitely can be a trade fragger in those 4 to 5 man hits when you're going for the site execute itself. So very versatile in how he can play the edges of the map and kind of cover areas alone, but also, be there when you need to drive things home. And he's going to have to drive home onto Norbert, who's pushing an aggressive corner, but it's been sniffed out by Axile. Great job there by him to pick that up. That really could have been a problem if they had walked past him. And now they will start marching into B, which is very vulnerable right now. Only Nealon really nearby. Now Kiosk finally will join him.
Smoke's being deployed down and allows Syman the sanctuary of pushing the smoke and trying to catch them off guard. With the time running very low, Kioz will strike the fire once again. 8 seconds left, but Cade's also fallen, leaving Mo in a 1v2. Can he deny the bomb plant? It's being planted behind the sandbags. It's incredibly close, but with a second left, it does get put down successfully. And now Mo, who's dropped from heaven, is going to be buried. And AWP will play no further part, and they're looking at a very real possibility of an eco/half-buy.
Yeah, exactly. Someone's money is quite low. They also were able to pick up an AWP to pass over to Shiro, and Shiro is definitely one of those upcoming offers in the scene. that people have been talking about. People are talking about maybe he should join Navi and Simple One's still rifle. Like, that's the type of quality that he's been putting out. He hasn't gotten a kill yet in this game, but I imagine with that primary weapon in his hands that he'll be looking to do some damage here.
I was expecting an eco or half fight. They've actually gone all in with this purchase. Maybe because Gambit youngsters have taken a lot of casualties these last 2 rounds, but you look at the vast gulf in terms of weaponry, in terms of utility. If Syman lose this, they're in real trouble.
Oh, absolutely. They'd be full saving for sure. And they might even be in a spot where it'd be like 2 rounds before they would be able to get a full buy really going. Again, that could give Gambit a chance to not only tie the game, but actually start establishing a decent lead before they could buy again. So you're right. There's a lot of eggs in this basket, and one of them has already done the old Humpty Dumpty. That's Nealon, who's out of the equation already. As it is just basically default play from Gambit. You'll see this a lot from Gambit. I mean, this is kind of typical for the map. The 3-1-1, 1 connector, 1 outside B, 3 taking bathrooms, and, you know, long A control. Gambit do open with this quite a lot in the games that I've seen on Overpass. So they're one of those teams that had the individual talent and people like Shiro and Axile, but despite their inexperience, they've been playing together for a very long time, since like mid-2019, and they have a pretty decent strategy about it. As they will, again, right there in their default, be able to establish an equal trade, so good spacing. Now they'll be attacking the A-bomb site.
Good Molotov also deployed. You can see the offer of Mo wanted to push through, flash in his eyes, blinded, had to turn tail, get out of there, and now relocates, but it's only going to be bloodshed on the side of Syman Gaming. The only kill they get in retaliation is Axile, and that's certainly going to be a worthwhile endeavor. As, again, Gambit youngsters off to a rocky start, but it seems like they have stabilized, and Mo, desperate to hold on to that orb, really needs to keep a hold of this one. He's still holding his angles, but he's about to get pushed from the Fani as well, who flashes over on towards the barrels. Mo can see those steps going backwards and forwards. Another kill is going to go his way. Puts it a little bit more likely he'll save, but Inters has him dead to rights. Mo Guns will move through into the next round, and Syman Gaming, surely, this time, will be ecoing.
Yeah, they'll definitely have the full save here. P250s at best, so Gambit should be taking the lead here. Shiro getting his first kill on the board with the AWP that round. That's good news for Gambit youngsters. Really need to get him going. It's been nice to see Supra be able to step up and deliver some big kills while he kind of waits for Axile and Shiro to wake up a little bit. This is their first game of the day. And again, another one of those games where losers going home, winner moves on to stage 2, which will be played out tomorrow. Let's see who will be moving on to basically the main stage, the main portion of the tournament, where the likes of Navi, Spirit, Virtus Pro, all those top 5 ranked teams so far in the RMR standings are waiting to play out for those chances for more points to solidify a spot in the next major. 5 spots up for grabs for the CIS region for the upcoming major. I think it's 2 legends, 1 challenger, and 2 contender spots.
Oh, the Fani gets obliterated. The D clobbers him down. Not quite able to get their hands onto that weapon, but that now puts a lot more pressure on Shiro, and he's fallen as well. This is a grim start to the round if you're Gambit youngsters. Like, sure, you've got safe passage to B by and large. You still have to watch out for Nealon, but that's an AWP and a MAC-10. 2 players already plucked off. A good flashbang. If that P250 claims the kill, it's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, they're unarmored though, so that should give a chance for these armored rifles of Gambit youngsters to still be able to pick these guys off. Though again, it's taking more economic damage than it should be. And again, Mo with an op, even if he isn't armored, could definitely still be a real problem. Axile though has a pretty nice little angle here in the mid area. They'll be able to line up 2 pretty easily. And that's pretty much all she wrote.
I love the
I don't even think they're going to be able to get the op back, Vince.
It's possible, yeah. I mean, you're seeing Inters just run straight away towards long. He's not sure where Norbert currently is.
No, I didn't know if Norbert was able to get Mo's op that drop, but he did indeed pick it up. So they'll be able to carry it over to the next round. So that's a free op for Mo. That's nice. Didn't have to spend the money on it.
Still is going to cost him an extra AWP. That's $4,750 that was effectively splashed against the rocks. And now Mo, as you highlighted, will have the AWP that did belong to Shiro in the last round. Gambit youngsters take the lead for the first time in this best of 3.
Being held up on the short B control by good utility usage here from Syman. Kind of the standard stuff you normally see, the grenades, the Molotovs thrown into the short pipe. But as that all fades, a pop flash will come through, and it feeds a chance for Nefani and company to get into short B to set up for this B split play. Now, Nealon is pushed very deep onto Fountain, so he's got a lot of information. It feels like Syman are now confident to have 3 players on the B side itself and have Mo in quick flanking position.
Eos with 2, Cade with the other 2, and the round is open and shut. Shiro has the AWP ability to maybe pull off a little bit of economic sting. There's the first, only loses 28 HP in the process. But now, realistically, he is going to be impaired. It's whether he can maybe get this extra kill on Nealon that is watching the backside and the flank. If he can, he should have safe passage towards the A side. He's waiting for an overzealous peek. Try and put this into separate 1v1s. It's really the only key to success, I would say, if you are Shiro at this stage. One of the most hyped players in this entire tournament. Many people are expecting great things from this man.
Man, again, one of those young up-and-coming snipers in the CIS region. There's several, man. The CIS region's swelling with op talent right now between some of the veterans like Simple and Jame, but then having guys like Shiro, like Idis Balance, like Z-Power, several other names out there as well.
Never really understood why people trying to save switch to their knife and inspect. I don't really get it. Like, he may just have died anyway, but he had a knife out. Like, why?
I don't know. Maybe make himself as small as possible so his barrel's not sticking out or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with some type of answer for you, but I'm not sure if that's really one that satisfies your needs.
Oh, you satisfy all my needs, Dust.
Yeah. I bet I do.
So it is going to be an eco. Either way, that 4-round streak does come to an end, and now Syman, with some weapons taken away from the T's, have a very solid purchase, very solid weaponry at their disposal. Aggressive again. Nealon this time in Playground. He's typically been playing Connector, but really taking the fight to Gambit youngsters. Now, if he dies, that's an M4 pretty much freely given across to them.
That's true. Him being alone could be a problem. And as they are, they're certainly going to charge here into the Playground, and he has been spotted. He's able to get 1 and a 2, but not a 3. Won't get those licks on the center of the Tootsie Pop.
Lack of armor is an issue, of course. Aim punch going to be very difficult to manage and navigate past, especially as it's a 3-player stack on B site. Norbert up in heaven. Quick rotations are available. Supra may try and sell this fake onto A, see if he can get that secondary player across. Maybe even draw out a 3rd player over on A. There's 25 seconds. Maybe just looking for some exit frags or flank kills once they do go for the rotation. He's seen Mo jump up a couple times, but Mo also caught a glimpse of him. There's the spray from Shiro. They did bite down on that fake momentarily, and now it could be another one. That flashbang is spot on. It's a 2v2. This is actually doable now with the bomb plant. They toss it across to allow Shiro the safe passage of a better angle of aggression. Lands the dink, goes back in for more, but both players are softened up for the Deagles. Mo perforates the wall, and Axile to clutch. But it was a 2v1 and then a 1v1. They've lost 4 players against basically pistols, Dust. That is nearly a catastrophe.
Oh, absolutely. It means they have to dip into their wallets way earlier than they wanted to replenish their rifles and utility, which, again, gives Gambit, who now have buying power, a chance to immediately punish Syman. If they can get the win here, they'll tie out the game 5 apiece, and they'll likely force Syman into a saving situation. So that could really allow them to start building up that lead on the T side. So that opportunity is sitting out there. It is the dangling carrot, perhaps, but it's about whether or not they can actually reach it, or if it truly is just always out in front of them.
Mo had a very good performance on Inferno yesterday, keeping up those performances here. 10 kills already. Axile, though, waiting. Perfect crosshair placement. And Kios and Cade run into a firestorm. Molotov deployed at the monster to stop the push, but the player advantage with so much time left allows Gambit youngsters now a bit of time, a bit of reprieve to decide what the best course of action is next.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of control. They have the man advantage. Axile has done exactly what he needed to do there, getting those 2 big kills at Sandbags. He'll continue to have presence outside B. Again, that's his default position, playing Monster in short B. Always interesting because I feel like he is that aggressive rifle that could be a really great like trade fragger, like second entry type guy, which again on certain set pieces he will be, but also because he's such a good aggressive rifle, when you put him by himself, he can create so much pressure in these situations, like you saw there at Sandbags, and now he'll continue to deliver here. Might even find a lurk kill onto Nealon. Nealon actually sniffs him out instead, so it's an even 3-on-3, but he's done his job. He's kept 2 players in place at B as this A attack is starting to commence. Mo, though, still will be there with the AWP and can call for a rotation, which is obviously very fast on this map for CTs.
You could see he wanted to peek in for a potential pick, and he knew that he was smoked out of play. He didn't have many options available to him. Flashbang over. Supra had his back turned, shields himself away from the oncoming damage and the oncoming blinding effect, and then closes the eyes permanently of the remainder of Syman Gaming. Bart Norbert, who is still alive and kicking, still pretty healthy, and still in bank. But it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to deposit too much out of this round. Just try and save, if anything, on that M4. $200 in the bank balance. Collectively, Syman looking rough. Trying to throw that AWP away could actually get Supra killed, because Norbert's now going back in for another peek. Tries to bite off more than he can chew. Try to get the 2 players. Doesn't happen. Gambit youngsters back into even stay once again.
They're also going to get the benefit of having Syman on low money, something we were kind of talking about a little bit earlier when they had that 1v1 situation that took place the previous round. So it is going to be mostly USPs, 1 Deagle and armor on Nealon. There's a couple of HE grenades, maybe some type of nades that they're going to try to do over here at this initial choke point by Fountain. They will get those grenades out, but they will miss the mark. And they have all been spotted, and so that they're all going to get mopped up here from Gambit youngsters, who are all here ready to fight. Though the USP actually has picked up a couple of kills, Vince, with the Deagle as well.
Shiro can't afford to miss too many times, because the Deagle headshot may be forthcoming, and he's missed once again. What? Norbert and Nealon have put this into the realm as a possibility, and Axile has got to get this done alone. And HE going up and over, land slam dunk. But my God, Gambit youngsters, you nearly let a howler through.
That's a squeaky butthole moment, Vince, if I've ever seen
one. Oh yeah,
that is, you can't get anything through there. I mean, that's just unbelievable that they've taken that many casualties in that situation. Like you said, a couple of missed op shots from Shiro opened the door for the pistols at close distance and get some bullets rattled off, and they certainly met their mark. Luckily, Axile, again, that kind of aggressive lurk player, able to come back up through connector and kind of save the day with the AK and the Peyton Manning HE grenade. Although I guess that reference is probably a little bit outdated since he's a retired player. So maybe you should find a new quarter. Aaron Rodgers is still playing. We'll throw that one out there instead. Again, these references are totally lost upon you, I realize, but... Yes,
I understand the American football links. The hand egg. Definitely have no idea who those people are. It's all good, though.
I don't know if you watch American football or not. I mean,
I am an uncultured swine.
Do you watch American football or not? Nope. I can't tell if you're... Okay.
No, I don't. Just normal football.
Yeah, I know it's like kind of growing in the UK, though, isn't it?
Yeah, quite a few people watch it here. Oh, I thought that flash had just been bounced off the train there. Does happen from time to time. Axile's alright.
It's the biggest troll in Counter-Strike, really, is that train.
It just seems so pointless as well. Like, I get you want to add a little bit of, you know, immersion, but really? Like a train that can literally block grenades? Come on, bruh.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it was just a still train that you could plan around. But, you know, what do I know about map design? As we do see Gambit youngsters pressing up the A site. This time a little bit faster pace. They've kind of really picked it up this time, just putting all their forces here. Shiro trying to watch their backs, but they're definitely looking to crack open this A site. All CTs are basically already in position, then. It's kind of a wild situation.
Yeah, we are poised for a 5v5 retake. That grenade, though, shreds the oncoming CTs. Mo gonna keep that light shining a little bit longer, but maybe shut off. Norbert sprays through the flash, knows where Supra's positioned. The bomb's not planted ideally for these remaining Ts either. They were hoping those other two players on the site would have done a better job. The bomb is getting defused right now, and amongst the smoke, they need to get rid of this right now. Nealon's slick on it. He's gonna get the defuse. Everybody is massacred. Everybody is dealt with. It's gonna be rough for Syman Gaming going forward, but they at least get a 6th round.
This makes you wonder why he didn't pull the trigger. Like, I mean, he knew where the bomb was planted. Surely you just spam the smoke after you get that kill on the guy who pushed you. Instead, he just kind of takes his time to walk forward and just gives that extra time for the defuse to keep going. Maybe they didn't hear someone get on the bomber. Maybe there was a miscommunication, but it just seems like for all that effort, for them not to take a shot at spamming the smoke to maybe prevent the defuse is a little bit crazy. And that's a tough round to give up if you're Gambit, because you seem to play everything correctly when it came to fragging, but couldn't secure the bomb. And so that ties things back up. Money, though, still a real problem for Syman. I mean, obviously they want to buy, they won the round, but I mean, it's tough to do. I mean, think about, you know, when it comes to the cost of the M4, you can't really M4 armor on almost anyone except for maybe Nealon. So it's like you basically have to FAMAS armor if you want to be able to get utility. There's definitely going to be no op in play. It's one of those rare situations where you've won the round, but your opponent's still going to be in a way better economic situation than you.
Yeah.
Like, light years ahead.
Like, you've won the round, but you almost feel like you lost it. Because,
yeah,
you know, other than the round score, there's not really that much rewards forthcoming.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I totally agree. This is a very rough decision, which is, I think, they just called 2 timeouts. Like, they really need to mull this over. They know how important this position in the game actually is. On your CT side, you've already lost 6. Gambit youngsters, whatever happens, have got a really solid T-half brewing up.
Yep. You
lose this, Gambit youngsters may just take this half 9-6.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right. This is a really big swing round opportunity, because Gambit youngsters' economy is also low. So this is a chance where Syman could actually, in theory, if they win, get the lead back and actually win the half out. So big round here.
For any aggression, I was curious if we'd see Syman again push into the likes of Playground or Connector, but actually it's way more default. I say default. Actually, there's 4 players on B. They can obviously traipse those players back up again, but they've got no information to do so.
Yeah. Also interesting to see Super not go Connector. That's normally his default position. This time he's actually just been a 4th player to be at mid already. The only defense at A right now is Mo, who's playing the bait and switch corner, but he's got no one to bait and switch with, at least not yet. I don't know if someone will eventually get in spot to do that for him, but he could be isolated, and this could be a really big problem for Syman's defense.
A lot of map control across for this reason, and Mo's been picked off already. He did see multiple players. There's 50 seconds left. They have no connector control. For all they know, they're still going to be back in connector, but now that all these nades are coming down, it stands to reason it will be an A hit. Rotations coming in thick and fast. Still is time to pull the plug, but they have the bomb on long. It's a long rotation if they want to go for it. There's going to be a flash from the Farney. Big opening pick with the AK-47. Then a second and a third and a fourth to follow it up. And this round is closed in a heartbeat. Gambit youngsters regain the lead, but it's all about that economy now.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I wanted to bring up. And something I kind of pointed to earlier is that, yeah, a lot of the praise that Gambit youngsters will receive is based on their young talent in Shiro and Axile, but you can't overlook the fact that despite their youth, they are actually strategically a pretty sound team. Like, they have good defaults, they have good team play there. You saw themselves coordinate their utility appropriately, make sure everything they had covered, make sure they pop flash for each other in multiple situations to get the pick on the up-close player at long, and then also take the site, despite the fact that CTs had rotated pretty well there. So, all in all, clean play from Gambit.
Barney definitely saw multiple adversaries, and of course, this is the round where they nearly picked up those USP grenades and just rushed straight through middle. It was a 1v2 at the end, so they're going to be charging in. It is a gauntlet that they're not going to be successful pushing through or even getting a single kill. So 8-6, the score. Syman Gaming's last buy will be enough to yield a purchase, but of course, they're going to be without that up again.
Yeah. Shiro, who was at one point, I think 0-4 or 0-5, now 11-8, so definitely has come online. Axile has played exactly how you'd want him to, and really everyone on the team's been playing pretty up to snuff for the Gambit youngsters, so good good to see a lot of production coming out of each and every player. Fragging is not that far off from Syman. I mean, the score is close. 8-6. There's been a good mix of rounds. I mean, when you look at the last 7 rounds played, 3 have gone to Syman, 4 have gone to Gambit. So it's been a pretty tight race here. And now Kiosk getting a couple big opening kills in this one might actually make this happen as close as it gets at 8-7.
Not an ideal flashbang. The flash was there to supply the push, but it didn't affect the player of Kiosk whatsoever. He just stood in the same position, kind of perched up, looking into the short pipe, just sprayed down 2 of the easiest kills you could ask for. And that's the ideal start. I mean, utility-wise, they are pretty much bare bones, but those 2 kills really alleviate so much pressure.
Yep. I mean, T's don't really have utility to use either, to be honest. 1 smoke, 1 Molotov, 1 HE grenade. As you said, they're also down into a 3-on-5, so they really need to find some individual brilliance, which you would imagine Exile will be kind of the main one supplying it. Those supers also had his moments. Mo aggressive here, could blindside them if he picks the right timing, or he could just get bypassed and have no idea what's going on. So it's kind of an awkward situation, really.
Well, okay, there we go. Now he's found out. I was about to say, if they just walk past, that was going to lull Syman into such a false sense of security, which could cost him dearly. But now he's been spotted. Now that he's shown his hand but got a kill for it, they can set up a good crossfire. Neelan, comfortable kill for Axile, who turned his back. And Gambit youngsters will have the lead 8-7, but at least Syman ended in winning ways.
Yep, a little bit better as well. I mean, last time they played against each other, I think Gambit got 10 rounds on the T side in the first half. This time they only get 8, so still a really good T side, don't get me wrong, but not as strong as they had done previously. And it's also said that that's 8 T rounds despite the 3-0 start for Syman. So that kind of really even adds more to it. When it came to gun rounds, Gambit were definitely fairly dominant that half. Could have easily been 11-4 if they had 1 pistol instead, so.
That's definitely a good and fair point to make. That the scoreline may not paint the full picture of how this game has gone. Sure, stats-wise and kills-wise, not too much difference between the 2 teams, but situationally and contextually, it's definitely been Gambit youngsters' map, as you'd expect it to be. This is a map that they're actually really solid on, especially against Syman. And they're going to have a bit more time to rack their heads together and figure out what to do. We do have a bit of a tech issue. Kadia, unfortunately, is having some issues with his ping. It was at 300. It seems like it's dropped to 70. Still not ideal.
Yeah, hopefully we can get that sorted out soon. Always the woes of online CS is having internet and other tech issues when it's not being a controlled environment. But at least we have online CS during this time where LAN play is impossible. Kind of an advantage that we have over traditional sports, so we get to continue on, at least, and have some form of competition. So it's great to see these 2 teams facing off today here for WePlay, for those RMR points for the CIS region. Very important game for both these teams to try to put themselves in a position to perhaps be joining the ranks of the next major. Certainly think Gambit youngsters have some of the talent to perhaps fight for one of those spots. I mean, obviously you got some of the favorites out there like Navi, like Spirit, like Fours. Even if the Virtus Pro guys could get their acts together, certainly have players on paper that you would think would have a good chance of making the next major. Though they've had some issues in a roster change, to be honest. So it's kind of put a damper on things for them, but they're still certainly a formidable team. There's a few other, decent teams out there as well. I mean, again, there's a lot of talent in this region, so it's really hard to pick who could get that 5th spot, so to speak.
What would you say then? Obviously, we have a bit of a downtime. You just touched on VP and their fairly grim, let's say, last 6 months or so. Obviously, Vanguard were incredibly sought-after team. People thinking that they're going to be up there in the mainstay of the top 10, maybe even top 5. And then things have just kind of went off the edge of a cliff. What do you think are the reasons for that, Dust? Like, why have they had such a fall from grace, in your opinion?
I just feel like the Adren roster move didn't go the way that they thought it would. I think they tried to change in-game leadership. That didn't go well either. I think that while the core of like Jane Buster and Kickert was actually a pretty good one, I just feel like they never got the other 2 pieces they needed to make the team an elite level team. But who knows? I mean, it could have been like inter-team turmoil. It could have been sometimes individual form falls off. You know, other teams get better. I mean, there's so many different factors that are involved, but I really still do think that you could definitely build something there with the right combination. The thing is, there's some other teams out there now that might have better positioning. Like, I'm not sure what's going on with Buster right now, but if you put him on the right team, like if Buster was ever, able to join a team like Navi or ever able to get on a team like Spirit and join talent like Idis Bounce and Some Die Young, who are already on that team, or you put him on a fours for somebody alongside talent like Z Power and Flit. He could really add to a team and make them very powerful. So yeah, I don't know. Like, again, there's so much talent in the region, but it's all kind of spread out on different teams. Like, Navi's really the only team that's kind of combined a bunch of talent underneath one umbrella. Every other team in the region has like 2 or 3 players that you could point to that are very strong individually and are capable of great things, but they're just not all in the same place.
Interesting. Yeah, I definitely would echo a lot of the statements. Like, it's hard to tell. I feel like there's always a lot of variables, but for me, I was just curious, like, if you think that they are a team that could be back up there again. You answered that. You said yes, but it's obviously some changes going to have to come into play. Yep. One of the teams that has had quite not necessarily a meteoric rise, because, again, you have to temper a lot of what we talk about with it being online CS, and it always comes with some caveats. But Big, this is a team, obviously Tabs, Tizian, Searson, Xantares, and Keto, a team that we've casted quite a bit online before. I think we casted them maybe Blast Rising or something like that. I can't remember where it was. They've gone up 16 points, 16 positions in the HLTV. They're now in the top 10. They're 8th position. Obviously, they've had some success recently. What would you credit that down to? Because that's quite the change of events.
I think it comes down to a couple different things. One, they made some roster upgrades. I think Searson's a fantastic AWP. I think that them going fully German in language probably certainly helped the chemistry of the team. And also, they're almost a fully German team except for Xantares. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I also think a lot of it has to do with, let's be honest, the transition to online play helped them out a lot. Not to say that they can't do it on LAN, but like the only LANs that they could even play with was 5 was like DreamHack Leipzig, where they won. And they played the Flashpoint qualifier and won that too, but then decided against playing it and went to EPL instead. But I mean, it really has come down to online play, I think. I mean, they've been doing really well in all these home sweet home cups that they've played in, so they're getting a lot of ranking points just off of playing these home sweet home cups that don't really have like the biggest names teams playing in them, except for like Complexity and maybe a couple other teams. Obviously, the big one for them was winning DreamHack Masters Europe. I mean, that was big, beating G2, beating FaZe multiple times, beating Complexity, beating Mouse Sports. I mean, they beat some pretty big name teams in DreamHack Masters EU, which really helps jump up their ranking. Again, I don't know if those same results happen on LAN though, so I'm not trying to call them onliners purely, but it is like a weird environment we're in right now, where some teams are performing better than you would expect during this online era of CS, and some teams are performing worse than you would expect. Like, for example, Navi has had worse results than they would normally have, I think, in a LAN environment. And there's a couple of other examples of that as well. Like, I think Mouse Sports has fallen off in comparison to, what they were doing at the end of last year, where they were really powerful on LAN. So, I don't know. We're kind of in a weird place right now, where it's hard to truly know how good everyone really is until we get everybody back online again, and it gets some consistent tournaments going and really kind of form rankings that way. I think right now a lot's up in the air. I think you can for sure say that teams like G2 are really strong. Fnatic, still really strong. I think there's some teams that really haven't changed too much at all during this online era, but there's some teams that have catapulted. Like, look at Furia back in the top 5. Like, are they able to maintain that when they get back on LAN? I'm not really sure. Is Liquid going to get their acts together? Can EG get their acts together? Those used to be very powerful teams, but have had their struggles now. So there's a lot of questions that aren't going to get answered until I think we get back in the LAN environment. But either way, we're going to get back into the environment of this Overpass match, Vince, it looks like, as finally the pause has been lifted, and we are going to get live with the second half.
We most certainly are. Hopefully all the tech issues have now been remedied. Cade's internet seems like it's okay and good to go. Gambit youngsters now on the CT side. Their choice of map did take the first half pretty solidly, and now they're going to be looking to try and repel the push into Connector, and they've done it so very well. 3 kills, all headshots all day. 2 from Supra and the other from Shiro, leaving Kioz and Neelan trying to retrieve the bomb that's been dropped in a very awkward position in Connector, and Axile is making it that little bit more tentative. Neelan does at least get 1, culls away Supra, but he is killed straight afterwards, and Gambit youngsters pick up the second pistol, putting themselves in a very solid position.
Oh yeah, that is very, very true. Remember, they did get the 0-3 starts in the first half, so they had to kind of play from behind but still wound up winning the half. And so the fact that they're able to get off to a hot start when pistol here really helps them build up that lead early. Syman, though, with the 4 spot, the Eagles and Scout will try to contest that immediately. Most of them gathering up here at A. Playground, they do have Cade by himself in the connector, but everyone else just looking to try to get that bathrooms and long A control in place. Taking their time. Being cautious. Probably just trying to give Mo a chance to get a long-range duel with the Scout, if he can find one.
Yeah, like this divide and conquer mentality. If they catch a player in bathrooms or long, can get that kill. Gives them a better chance of swarming the site later on. But Gambit youngsters have kind of got the perfect setup to counter this play. There's very little utility. And once it gets up close, this is where the SMGs, the FAMASs, are certainly going to come out ahead. And it's these more skirmish situations where the Deagles could get some headshots, but now that Axile is going to smoke down long, and his teammate, compadre, partner in crime on the side of Shiro is laying the law with the MP9. This round is going to slip away. Mo trying to hold on to the Scout, trying to retreat into Connector, is going to meet the Supra, who will not miss his chance. 10-7.
Clean round 2 for Gambit, only losing 1 player. That's always what you want. I mean, you're expected to win, but to do so cleanly is that real goal, and that's exactly what they've been able to accomplish there. They rolled over all the FAMAS, the MP9, and they basically get a freebie here where it should be some upgraded pistols here and there at best for Syman, so it should be 11 coming for Gambit. They just want to win this round clean, especially Shiro wanting to try to farm some more cash than MP9. Lots of utility damage early on here.
Yeah, that molly's really solid. It allows Shiro to funnel in his aggression towards Playground. He's thinking better of this, and he's landed himself a hell of a shot here, Mo, onto Shiro. Tags him down to 24, using that second smoking connector. A little bit more of a reprieve with his MP9 at range, not necessarily known for its long-range incursions, and it's going to go down finally to the hands of Kioz. But it's a 2-for-1 trade. Gambit youngsters are fine to lose some of these MP9s. That's not really a concern, not really an issue. Nafani going to be getting that SMG. Gets his kill with the USP instead. His sidearm comes good for him. And Norbert and Kioz do not have too much in terms of options. That's going to definitely open things up, though, from Norbert, who gets a second. 2-1 Deags back-to-back. Opens up A for business. And business is looking pretty good right now for Syman Gaming. Norbert doesn't have Kevlar, so aim punch going to be an issue he has to contend with, but they're going to get up close to that MP9, and things now looking a little bit sketchy for the CTs. Given a chance off the bat with the MP9, pushing in, and Supra holds it. But man, you talk about squeaky butt moments. There's another one.
Oh yeah. They could have perhaps traded out Supra and then got a 1v1 and had a rifle in their hand, so that could have gotten very dangerous. Definitely a great little play there from Norbert with the Deagle to get them a bomb plan out of a round. They really had no hopes of doing much of anything. That's really added to their cash pool to make sure Mo gets an op, and they get plenty of utility around the AKs, and there's still FAMASs in play for Gambit, which, I mean, are better than they used to be, but they're still not ideal against an AK-47, so firepower advantage does actually swing the way of Syman at least a little bit. Shiro able to get on his AWP, though. He had plenty of money, plus the couple of MP9 frags he got last round, so he's sitting pretty in that regard. Mega aggression is Axile here at A side, man. It's in the playground.
I love it. That's why I enjoy Overpass so much as a player and as caster, watching it. It affords CT so many opportunities to go aggressively. Now, Cade, I don't think spotted him actually move up on the staircase, so that's going to be a position that very well could come back to bite him. Or not, as Nafani moves out, giving connector control across to the T's.
Yeah, definitely can see that. Syman want to be trying to crack open the egg that is the B bomb. So there's a double monster set up though, Vince. So if they try to come through that smoke, unless that flash is effective, they could be in a lot of trouble.
Flashes are good, but this crossfire is even better. Impenetrable defense. A fortress has been constructed, and Mo does get the kill onto Supra, who gives his position away with the shot through the smoke, but Axile not going to let them retreat out of connector, not going to let them chime together and try and hatch a master plan. Instead, it has been scrambled, this attack. And Mo doesn't survive for too much longer. 12-7, 5-round lead, looking pretty good if you're on Gambit youngsters.
And the flashes that they threw basically flew past the players that were up close on monsters, so didn't really have much impact. Meanwhile, Gambit had some pretty good counter flashes in on that push and had the perfect crossfire, as you stated. So that was basically a run-in Syman through the blender, making a fleshy smoothie that no one would want.
Yeah, that sounds pretty disgusting.
I feel like that should be my tagline. I don't know why I've said that.
Yeah. One of those instant regret things. Norbert's instant regret to pushing on sandbags. 2 grenades land on his head. 18 HP. Can't afford to do anything. He has to back off.
I'm still recovering from that comment, so give me a second here. We'll see if Syman can recover from this lead that Gambit's been building up. Momentum's definitely on their side, and their economy is so low on Syman that if they take an L here, Gambit basically are sprinting towards the finish line. So this is very important ground for Syman. Need to make sure they get out of this one and get out with it clean. Don't want to be doing rebuying. Not with $50 a piece per player.
Certainly not. Also, it's not just about the run economy, it's also about keeping the CT's economy low. Keeping that in range of striking, and they've been able to really do that. 7.1k for Inters, nearly 5k for Shiro. Axile waiting. Here's the footsteps, double spray. Oh my goodness. It's complete collapse territory. Syman never stood a chance.
Bro, we're 5 rounds into the half. Gambit's won all of them, and 4 of the 5 rounds, they lost only 1 player or no players.
Yep.
There's only the 1 round where they lost 3. That was the 3rd round of the half, where they had that bomb plant based off of Norbert Steegs. Other than that, it's just been straight dominance. And money is very, very low here for Syman. I think this is like round where they take a halfway approach, like upgrade a pistol, armor, some utility, make sure they can still full buy next round, because you want to be able to have a really full buy when Gambit goes for map point. So yeah, I expect to see a lot of Tech 9s, Deagles, things of that nature. Definitely there's a lot of, I think, strats you can design around the Tech 9 and utility that can still be very effective, just because Tech 9's movement accuracy and fire rate is really good. So we'll see if Syman has something like that in store for us. They seem to be gathering up outside for a quick B attack.
Yeah, I mean, really quick and aggressive are certainly words that come to mind when I think of the Tech 9. You kind of have to. You have to play to the weapon strength. Those grenades are so brutal. And Mo and Keon's just destroyed instantly. Inters with a double spray. KDO tries to get a peek with a pistol, but it's been completely and utterly shut down. And really, there's just no hope for Syman to even get a kill out of this. It's 14-7 and already a foot into the next map for Gambit.
Yeah, that grenade stack was pretty brutal. I mean, you could definitely tell that Gambit knew what was likely going to happen. They probably had a pretty good read of Syman's economy, knew that they were going to be up against some type of eco rush, and if you're using Tech 9s, your best way you're going to close distance is either through connector to bathrooms or through a B-split, and so Gambit just kind of aware of those situations, perfectly placed their grenades, and basically last chance saloon for Syman for overpass.
Oh no, and he's missed his smoke. Can't even extinguish the short pipe. What a waste.
Better did he get CSGO,
he flashes himself.
Or actually miss.
Say again,
sometimes you get CSGO'd where like the smoke bounces over the fire but doesn't extinguish for some reason, like it just happens randomly. So I don't know if that's what happened or if he actually missed. Either way.
It looked like a miss to me, but sometimes, like, you know, GoTV's a little bit off.
Yeah. There's a big problem here, Vince. Can you detect the problem?
The bomb.
Yep.
You do have the kills, though, at least.
Yeah.
Oh,
It could just get real awkward depending on this push of Super to the top.
CT's not going to find it, I think. If they keep pushing, they're going to find it.
Oh, thank God for Norbert. Oh, he didn't see the other one, though. And obviously, Super can't know the bomb is there, so I think they're still going to be fine on Syman's side.
Yep.
That could have got awkward, though.
For sure, yeah. It's almost like they were surprised at their success with the entry. He's like, hold on a second, we're in a winning situation? Yeah. Feels good.
Big feels good, man. So they'll get that. Super will maybe go for some exits and try to force some rebuying to keep Syman's economy low, but also might just, you know, want a full save here. There's plenty of money. Can't really make a wrong decision here. Syman not out of the woods yet, but they have one around. Again, the issue though becomes if Gambit just immediately wins and they're at map point and Syman's economy is still very low, so definitely still some banana peels out there that Syman must avoid on the road to a comeback.
It's a narrow road full of potholes, but they're getting there slowly.
Yeah. Like Star Road in Mario Kart. Hated that level.
Org,
Apparently.
Interesting. But seeing more orcs picked up over this tournament, Dust. I mean, it is a weapon that wasn't completely nerfed into the ground.
Exactly. I mean, and that's where it should be, right? It should be like a specialist or situational type weapon. Same with the SG. I'm perfectly happy with that. For it to have a role in the game. It just shouldn't be the only option.
Utility depleted on both sides. Not really a great deal to talk about in terms of damage done. It's just Mo and Neelan who take a little bit of chip. And Gambit pull the plug, retreat out of there, and give up middle control. But of course, Syman don't know this. They still have to respect that each corner, each nook can have a CT player sat there waiting. So they're going to have to use their flashes, they're going to have to use their smokes. And that's going to take valuable time. This is why a lot of CT sides go for that early aggression, because you're not quite sure what to expect if you're Syman Gaming.
As the AUG will perch up on the pipes here of the grate in the back of B, and so could either get pop flash and get absolutely ruined, or maybe could line up some frags. It's tough to say, really.
It's also why Super is watching a different angle. He's watching from the pillar towards short. But now some teammates have fallen down. Norbert picks up the weakened, the low inters. What a take. KDO and Norbert putting down the kills where it counts. The B side is taken. Gambit youngsters going to be coming down for a potential retake, but that smoke in their eyes stops any early kill. If Exile or Shiro land a frag there, I think they go for this retake. As it stands, they may be looking for more exit frags. May still be interested if Syman go aggressive and start to push into them, of course.
Yeah. Definitely more concerned about saving the weapons. The money is actually low on a couple of players, so to make sure that they get a full buy next round, saving these two weapons is pretty critical. And the chances of the retake are pretty slim, even with the utility and kits. So, perfect decision to be made. And honestly, that round started out great for Gambit. They defended the monster push really well, but they just didn't have the coverage to also take care of Norbert, who did a great job on his push through sandbags for two big entries on the site. Again, he's one of the top players in the tournament, particularly in the damage per round and kills per round categories, and he's certainly doing a hell of a lot of that on this map, leading the charge for his team with 16 kills. It's one of the top numbers in the server, though there's several members of Gambit who have him beat.
Here we go, one more time. Neelan smoking into the short pipe. Nothing slow about this round. They're going to be getting up close. They're going to be getting personal. It's getting a little bit claustrophobic, though, on short, as smokes and flashes have been deployed from the defending side. Molotov Nafani has to dodge. Puts him into a bit more of a sketchy position. Boost up, but Supra is a step ahead. He knows that was a possibility. A freebie kill, and he can draw back onto the site with the rest of his teammates.
That's always tough to give that up. At least Mo is able to equalize there with the AWP. Supra, though, still here at the pillar. Does have a rotation as well. Axile playing kind of a aggressive long A angle for now, but will fade back to the site himself. And they're still really up in the air how this is going to go. I mean, the defense is a little bit split, though now we are seeing that rotation from Sheer with the AWP to assist this B defense.
Entries again from Norbert, looking very clean indeed. Shiro takes a bullet through the smoke, but lands in his kneecaps. He's down to 15, still there, limping. Maneuvering his way into a possible retake with Axile, but their money is starting to deplete a little bit.
Yep.
Too low for comfort, and again, they're going to have to pull the plug. So Syman Gaming, they've had their second win. They've had their second spike of adrenaline.
Yeah, it's just, again, this Norbert has been really doing well at this rifle, getting picks on the B site. Mo also had a couple of big op shots. When Super got that opening kill, you started to favor Gambit a bit, but Mo was very quick to respond and keep it equal, and they built off of that very well. As Axile is going to find an exit frag here, but he's also taking a lot of damage, so is he going to die to explosion now? Nope, he'll still be fine. So they save an AK and an AWP, and they still do have money to buy their other players, so they can keep the buys going. So no easy rounds for Syman, but they have now won 3 in a row. Starting to get close to Gambit here. Gambit's not probably sweating too much yet, but if Syman win another round and they finally do have to take a say, that's whenever you have to start being a big concern for Gambit youngsters. Although I guess they should just be called Gambit at this point, because there is no other Gambit, and it's been like that for a year, but what do I know?
Yeah, at this point, maybe it's time to promote the youngsters to the first team Gambit. I'm just saying.
I mean, they haven't shown any signs of picking up a first team for like a year at this point, so I'm calling them Gambit.
And they've clearly got a team here to work with, so I don't understand it either. But maybe there's some politics or something there that we just don't know about. That being said,
I guess it would be like an empty one, like, now we're calling them just Gambit. It's like, big announcement. You know, like, I don't know that it would really do much.
Oh no, but again, his entering, man, is so good. Yeah. He's often alone as well. He just gets these kills out of nothing. Axile. Angle. That's not the play from Syman. They didn't have the flashes, molly smokes, nothing preceding that push. Right into the wheelhouse of the truck position, and now Mo's been dinked down. He's been finished off. And that comeback trail has been lost. Syman Gaming are in trouble.
Yep, from Optimus, Axile, and the Gambit youngsters roll out and get themselves to now map points.
And they have 5 of them, Dust.
Yes.
I mean, there are definitely some things to be a little bit more optimistic about. As you said, they won 3 rounds in a row. Those were rifle rounds. It's not as if they were just beating down an ecoed up team. They can do a lot of damage, so Norbert has to jump out of there. So, I mean, there are things to hold on to. It's just the case that it felt like there was a bit of a flash in the pan. And have Gambit now made the reads? Are they going to make the adjustments required to just ease this into the second map?
Yeah, it's still very much an uphill climb for Syman. It's really been off the back of Norbert. Like, he's had so much impact. I feel like if they limit him, then it's kind of all over. They're going to go for a late boost, and Norbert said, nah, I'm not having any of that. Gets the kill and the intel that at least one more player's in that area of graffiti. Meanwhile, there's an A push taking place. Equal trade over at long.
I'm still back towards T-spawn, so if Syman do take these fights, it would effectively be a 2v3 until the rest of the troops arrive. They are selling that this could still be a B hit, but that's somewhat surprising because Neelan's on the site. Maybe Gambit are just going to go save, actually.
Yep.
It's not that they fell for the fake, it's just they want to keep their weapons.
Exactly. It's like one of those gambles where if we're in the right place, great, we can still maybe win the round, but if not, we can save our weapons because money is low, particularly on the Fanny and Inters and Supra, so they're the 3 guys that need these guns next round, whereas Shiro and Exile are going to be able to buy. And Nefani being able to drop the op over to Shiro would allow Shiro to drop him an M4, and they both be able to get armor, and so they essentially have a full buy next round. So definitely the right call from Gambit youngsters, just playing the odds, playing the numbers. And so 11th round will strike out for Syman. They've now won 4 of the last 5 rounds. They're starting to get a little bit of something going here on the T side, but I'm not 100% sure yet that they've really posed enough of a threat. Like, I know that sounds a little bit odd because they are making a slight comeback and they're not that far behind anymore, but it still feels like they haven't hit that critical mass where you feel like they really are going to do it. Like, I feel like they need to hit, 12, 13 rounds, then all of a sudden, maybe you start to believe. They need to actually break Gambit's money first, I feel like. But they are slowly chipping away at it at the same time, so certainly that option's out there.
Yeah, they're taking the necessary, steps towards breaking the economy and potentially pulling this one back. And that's all they can really do is just focus on round by round, decision by decision, and not look at the overall picture. Gambit youngsters, of course, need to be very much focusing on the same thing. Sure, you have map points, you have a possibility of taking this right here, right now, but don't overextend, don't jump the gun. That can get yourselves in a lot of trouble. A spray through the wooden panels, not going to be yielding a kill. Farney's already felt the effect of war, though, down to 60. And that's really the only damage that's been inflicted across the two teams so far.
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet this round, all said. Smokes exchanged over at Monster. Long A slowly being taken by Syman. Shiro, who was kind of aggressive towards mid, able to pick up on KDO's rotation. And Axel has spotted those players at long and will put down the incendiary to slow that down. So they are starting to put the pieces together on the Gambit youngster side. They're starting to get the read on where things are headed, and they are well positioned for the attack that is going to be ensuing here on the A side. But it could be a fake. They could be transitioning that bomb through connector. But, I mean, the B defense hasn't pivoted yet, and Shiro can easily rotate. So either way, I think they're covered.
Was volleyed in position, though, but Supra, those headshots are so sublime. Single-handedly putting a stop to the push, and now a Molotov greets the teasers. 15 seconds, and all the rotations, all the players of Gambit youngsters are here, ready, willing, and able. That is sheer class from Supra. Another kill to finalize the map, and it's gonna go the way of Gambit youngsters.